This is the 2019 Cre8tive Resources sort of award ceremony. As we know, there are 3 exam boards. We've got EDEXCEL, OCR and AQA, and all of them offer the full GCSE Citizenship after the new specs came in. And so if we go back to the overall stats for this year, you'll be able to see that in 2019 there was a total of 19,821 students who sat the exam. This is really good. This is an improvement of just under 1,500 there, which is 7.3% increase on last year, which shows that the subject's been taken up by more students, which is nice. 17% achieved the top grades, grades 7 to 9, and only 2.3% failed to achieve a grade. Something interesting to note from this exam series as well, and this is obviously going to be the only data we have because of 2020 summer exams are not going to be sitting the exams per se, but there's a big gap between boys and girls, especially at the top end, where the gap is 66%. So for every one boy getting one of the top grades, 1.66 girls are getting the top grade. Now that's a huge gap. The gap seems less so at getting a good pass, so grade 4 or above, where the gap is only 21%, but still that gap is quite a bit. So it's interesting to look at why girls are performing better than boys in this subject. So looking through the different exam boards, this is AQA's information they've released. They had 8,835 students sit the exam this year, which is an increase, a huge increase for them of 1,500. So that's 21% increase. So it must be that they have attracted more candidates to them, or maybe people have swapped from different exam boards. AQA were quite a big participant last year with exam numbers as well. So as you can see, 17.1% achieved the top grades, which is an increase of 2% on 2018, and 2.6% failed to achieve a grade, which was 294 students. So although that's 17 more students than last year that didn't achieve a grade, it's actually down by 1.2%, so more people are passing the AQA exam, which is really good to see. EDEXCEL, which was the clear winner in the 2018 exam series when we did this last year, winning in most categories. This one has seen a tiny increase in people uptaking it. It's up to 8,202, which is an extra 164 students. But based on the increases in the AQA exam board, they probably haven't performed too well on that front. Less students are achieving the top grades compared to last year, so it's just a 0.5% down, but roughly broadly accurate and the same. And 1.9% failed to achieve a grade, which was 1% higher than the previous year as well. So the stats aren't looking as good for EDEXCEL there, but still very popular exam board with 8,000 students doing it. Then we've got OCR. OCR is always the funny one out of the 3. If you have taught any of or all of the different exam boards, AQA and EDEXCEL are very similar. OCR does stand out from the pack in that it has 3 exams instead of 2, and one of its exams is fully multiple choice as well. So they're the only one that really offers a completely different alternative, as well as obviously everybody in the active citizenship element has to work as part of a team as well for the 15%. So again, this exam board has seen a huge increase in students taking it up. Last year in 2018 exam series, it was by far the one with the lowest uptake of students, but it's increased it by 19%, which is good to see. So an extra 500 students nearly taking the OCR exam, which is good. They've got one of the lowest rates of students achieving the highest grades, so 16%. However, people are performing better on the exam, so 1.3% higher than their 2018. And again, roughly broadly in line with the other exam boards, about 2.5% didn't achieve a grade. So this was 70 students, which was an increase of 1.1% as well. So when we go through to awarding the points, you basically get you score 3 points for a gold, 2 for a silver, and 1 for a bronze. So looking in the first category, if you were to look at the different exam boards, we would be giving our gold to AQA because they have increased their amount by 1,500, and that's a 21% rise. Now, we're actually giving our silver award to OCR. Although less students are doing it, they've come from a smaller base. They have increased by 19% and an extra 488 students. Now, considering there is an increase in students taking the exam this year on last year, that should be reflected in all three exam boards, but it isn't being reflected in EDEXCEL statistics, so we've given them the bronze on this one. Second category, this one is based on the amount of students achieving the highest grade. We deliberated on whether to give AQA or EDEXCEL this, because AQA increased its percentage-wise, whereas EDEXCEL went down slightly, but we've given it just based on the pure data, and so we've given it to EDEXCEL, so 17.3%. AQA very, very closely hot on its heels, and OCR's got a little bit to make up for there, but broadly in line with each other. Then we looked at a pass, grade 4 to 9 in it, and we gave this one here, just snipping in there, is AQA, 0.1% above EDEXCEL, but that's an extra 2.5% of people have passed than did in 2018 exam series. EDEXCEL taking the silver and OCR taking the bronze, again ever so slightly behind by a couple of percent there, which means the final category was what percentage of students didn't achieve at least a grade 1 in the exam, and so the exam board with the fewest students achieving less than a grade 1 was EDEXCEL, so we gave them 3 points, so 1.9% there. OCR and AQA similar there as well. OCR just snipping in there with the silver, but overall, announcing the points there, EDEXCEL and AQA scored a total of 9, which is 3 points each for the golds, 2 for the silvers and 1 for the bronze, and OCR behind the pack at the moment, scoring a 6. However, on the balance of both exam boards, we wanted to give the gold medal to AQA because they've seen a big increase in all of their statistics there. As you can see, it's green on all three counts there. Almost very close is EDEXCEL, although it is interesting to note why they haven't seen a big increase in students taking the exam, so that could be something to look at. And OCR taking up the rear there with the bronze medal. However, they do try to be a bit different, and they have seen a 19% increase in students taking that exam board, so that's some positive news there as well. And obviously these are the national stats when you take into account all of them as well. This is based on raw marks. So if you look at EDEXCEL's, AQA and OCR's, it shows you what percentage of the exam paper you basically need to get right to get that grade. And one thing interesting to note, which probably goes with what some people have been saying, that OCR's papers are quite difficult, but you don't need to score as much to get a decent grade. So if you look, for example, at the to get a grade 9, you actually only need to get 70% right on the OCR paper, whereas you'd need 82.5% right on the AQA paper, so that makes a bit of a difference there. Unfortunately, EDEXCEL and AQA don't break down their different exam papers, so I'm guessing that theirs are just split evenly, so the two papers that are 80 marks each, maybe they just announce a middle grade for each one, whereas OCR has provided at least a breakdown to show you what you need to get. The citizenship in perspective, that is the multiple choice paper there, so it would be to get a grade 9, 37 out of 50, and then obviously you've got the other two papers there, so there is quite a big difference, around about 11% difference between the highest and lowest grade boundaries there, so something to take into account if you are predicting students' grades and then ranking them within the grade boundaries when you're submitting your results this year. But hopefully the exam series will go ahead as normal for next year, and we'll be able to see how the three different exam boards take fare. If you're interested in seeing the 2018 stats, just give Cre8tive Resources a quick email and they'll send you those stats, or if you want these stats in a PowerPoint, just drop us an email. I'm sure we can let you have the slides. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed listening to that, and it's just a little bit of fun grading the exam board. So we are confirming that for us, based on data alone, we would go with AQA this year. And to be fair, they also have a pretty good textbook that matches as well, and certainly we rate the AQA and the OCR textbook a lot. Good content on both of the books. We're not such a big fan of the EDEXCEL one, however.